First Timothy 3:15 says that the church is a pillar and ground of truth, not the scriptures. It says that the church is a pillar and ground of truth. Now, I'm going to read a passage from this book, and it's going to support this. It's a good example of how tradition works in tandem with scripture and how you cannot separate the two, right? So it reads, Paul appears to have decanonized much of the OT emphasis on the rituals attached to the law, especially its focus on clean and unclean foods, ritual cleansings, and Sabbath laws, because such things were deemed by him, Paul, to be no longer relevant to the faith he adopted. Now, when you read the scriptures, right, the authority that they had at that time, the ritual cleansings, the Sabbath laws, the specific rites, the duties of the priest, that was set for a perpetual practice to the people of Israel, right? But Paul is saying that they're no longer necessary for the Christian church, right? And that's because his apostolic authority allows him to reinterpret the text in a manner that functions and is applicable for the church, right? Not Israel, but for the church. I mean, the church is Israel, but the Israel community as we know it in the Old Testament, right? And so if we're going with, if he was going with just the text, right, and the text was the pillar and ground of truth, then he has no business and no authority to change the text. But he did. In a sense, he decanonized the teachings in the Torah, right? And what were not relevant are not relevant, and what are reinterpreted are reinterpreted, right? And this is not just done with specific teachings, right? It's also with books as well. Shepherd of Hermas, Letter of Barnabas, right? Acts of Paul, Revelation of Peter, First Clement. These were texts that were deemed scripture at a particular time for a particular community, and then they were no longer deemed authoritative, right? So it happens all the time, but only by apostolic authority, by the authority of the church.